Today we're here to talk about the top 10 rogue subclasses on D&D Beyond Homebrew.
One of which might be the most ridiculous I've seen yet.
I'm Nerdarchy Ted.
I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds.
Now let's sneak on into this video.
Alright, today we're looking at the top 10 Homebrew rogue subclasses over on D&D Beyond. And how we determine what the top 10 is, that's really simple. We basically see what people have looked at the most, so we're not going with, there may not be the best subclasses, but at the very least, they're the most popular or the ones that people have the most interest in seeing. Also, over on the website, Nerder Doug did a article, factor of 3, and it basically goes and sorts the subclasses 3 different ways, kind of tells you a little bit about them, so you can look at even more over there. And it's only fair to mention that this is a D&D Beyond sponsored video, which all the content's over on D&D Beyond anyway, which you can go over there and take a look at. I think you can look at the Homebrew for free.
Indeed. All right, so what we're going to do from here is we're going to read off the top 10 lists, going in descending order, and then, we're going to grab one, pick one, and talk about it, read what its powers are, and say why we like it, why we picked it, and we'll go from there.
Speaking of said list, I'm going to bring it up on my phone here on D&D Beyond. Coming in at number 1, we have 2 goblins in a trench coat, alchemist, mistwalker, blade master, gadgeteer, assassin variant, master of shadows. We have the bruiser, the time thief, the sniper, and agent of the divine.
All right, so there's definitely a lot of names that I look at that just seem to kind of jump out and grab your attention. Some things that seem like, very typical roguey things, and some things that feel like that they're stepping into the realm of some other subclasses or some other classes. So definitely some interesting things to talk about. Now, if you like these videos and you like to see us continue doing them and you want to help support us, why not come check us out over on Patreon?
As a special thank you, you're going to receive content we create for 5e for players and DMs alike. You're going to find drop-in encounters, maps, print and play magic item cards. We make subclasses, races, monsters. We even turn our Nerdarchy daily live chats into podcast format, so you can just get the audio file. And there's probably more things over there that I'm not even thinking about.
So as stated, we're going to grab one of those, and as Dave kind of, sneaked into the beginning, one of these is absolutely ridiculous. So there is no way that we can't talk about the rogue subclass, 2 goblins in a trench coat. The party is certainly shocked to find that the normal-sized humanoid they thought they knew was in fact 2 goblins in a trench coat. However, these sneaky, industrious sphinx have found a way to make this odd situation work to their advantage. 3rd level, too many hands. Starting at 3rd level, you have advantage on any steal or sleight of hand checks. Panic. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, whenever you take damage, you can use your reaction to split and go in 2 different directions at once. This grants you the effect of disengage and allows both goblins to move up to their full movement speed each. While split, each goblin has half of the remaining hit points. They still share the same initiative and do not get any more attacks than normal. They are still one character. But so long as both have weapons, either one can attack. While split, they count as an ally for the purposes of sneak attack. Attacks of opportunity against them have disadvantage. They cannot regain hit points by any method until they use one action to rejoin.
So, so far it's a lot of fun. Nothing overpowered. There's nothing like... obviously, a subclass like this is going to be really tough. One, let's face it. First of all, you don't get it till 3rd level, right? At 3rd level, something happens, and now the rest of the party realizes there are 2 of you. It's kind of funny because in my own game, there were 2 goblin rangers. Then when it went off and multi-classed into different things, but they were brothers in the game, and they would very much do this trope from time to time when they would use their disguised self and want it to be viewed as a medium creature.
It was a lot of fun, a lot of hilarity in that game. 9th level, we get cut some eye holes. Starting at 9th level, you have advantage on all perception and investigation checks. You may also use Goblin Dark Vision if the race they were posing as didn't already have better than 60 feet dark vision. You also cannot be surprised. While separated through Panic, they lose advantage, but their total modifier for all intelligence investigation checks and wisdom perception checks are double. That's a little wonky in my opinion, but
Not only that, though, it implies, I guess I just assume your character's a goblin, right, when you're playing this. But, like, I mean, you could technically be any race and be two goblins in a trench coat. So you could be like a Goliath, and then you split into at some point, and it turns out you're the goblins. There's definitely a lot of room for players to abuse this subclass as well.
Yeah. But we're not done. Bickering at 13th level. Your goblins have grown different enough that they have learned new skills, gained proficiency in 3 new skills. Holy crap, we're talking about a rogue getting access to more skills. That's a little crazy.
It's not that much different than the lore bard, though.
That's true. While the goblins are split using panic, their constant arguing is enough to confound any foe. Use a bonus action to force enemies to make a wisdom saving throw. DC is 8 plus proficiency bonus plus charisma. Unless they have proficiency in performance, persuasion, or deception, then they may double that and calculate the DC as 8 plus proficiency plus 1 of performance, persuasion, or deception. Basically doubling your proficiency bonus there. I think that's kind of odd.
Yeah, it's using expertise. It's a really kind of wonky wording of the mechanic.
On a failed save, the target has disadvantage on all attack rolls. On a successful save, the enemy has disadvantage on attack rolls against all targets except your goblins. They make a new save at the end of each turn. If the target makes their save after having failed their save at least once, they will automatically succeed on saves against this effect for the next 24 hours. So that's very weirdly done mechanics and very oddly specific about attack rolls. So.
Yeah, that part could be cleaned up a bit and, made it a little bit more utilitarian.
And lastly, at 17th level, gotcha. You have become adept at playing off people's surprise at your strange nature. When you attempt to attack a creature, it must make a wisdom saving throw versus 10 plus your charisma bonus. Unless you have expertise in performance or deception, then the DC is calculated as 8 plus your charisma bonus plus proficiency. On a failed save, you have advantage against the attack. On a successful save, the creature perceives your nature and is disadvantaged to hitting you on the next round.
So this one is weird. Again, you have that weird mechanic, and it's also either you get advantage or they get disadvantage. I get granted that's not a problem for a 17th level ability at all.
Right.
We picked this one not because we think the mechanics are amazing. Some of them are okay and they're not bad. And most of them, I feel like there's something to work with here where you could modify and tweak them and change them up a little bit, and it might work a little bit better. But all in all, I think we picked this one just because it's funny.
So I look at this one, yes, the hilarity factor of it, hands down wins. I think that's why it blows all of the other ones away in regards to, the number of views.
Yeah, this one was created by Zonkin44. And also, you were mentioning the views, and I'm looking at it right here. 45,838 views. The next highest one is 26,316. So not quite double, but moving towards that direction.
Indeed. So as far as I'm concerned, while some of the class mechanics are a little wonky, I would say in comparison to some of the stronger, more popular official rogue subclasses, I think this is underpowered. It's very skill heavy, granting some extra skills and advantages in certain scenarios. So if you're playing a very skill-heavy, non-combat-y kind of game, this could be, this could go over really well into the overpowered section. But all in all, rogues are skill-heavy anyway. So
yeah, it's gonna be super overpowered in a comedy-based game as well. But no, also when I say room for abuse, because there's technically 2 characters in one, I could see players coming up with scenarios where really they're breaking the spirit of this concept and they're just trying to manipulate the fact that you have an extra character. The person who designed the subclasses, they went out of their way to try and make sure that wasn't happening, which would be the correct design method. But at the same time, like we said, some of these we spruce up a little bit, clean up the language a little bit, and probably give them a little bit more, or make the abilities a little bit more powerful. But it could be fun. It definitely requires some suspense of disbelief in order to have this character operate as, basically 2 characters in one. It kind of got me thinking, what if you went with some kind of very limited hive mind or a parasitic relationship? then possibly it could work where really is just the same person.
So the elements that I look at is, especially when you go into panic and you split into two goblins outside of the trench coat, there are no mechanics for what happens if one of them with half the remaining hit points gets dropped to 0. Are they at 0 and stable until the other one uses an action to rejoin? If they're split and both elements have gone down, technically they can't regain any hit points until one of them uses an action. So how does that work? So there's definitely a little bit, wonky interpretative elements. I would just say, like, okay, well, if you put the two bodies, if somebody else puts the two bodies together and casts Cure Light Wounds, it's gonna work. I don't care as much. My suspension of disbelief, I would totally allow this in my game, and I would totally allow either side to be healed, only up to whatever their split level hit points, which would take more math, more homework on the person playing two goblins in a trench coat.
Yeah, I would do things like I would let the two when they're split, let them both have all the actions to split up how they want, the movement to split up how they want. I would think of it as two bodies, one mind.
Right.
And whether something happened or whatever, like that might be fun. Maybe it's called two goblins in a trench coat, but really, like, if you were some other race of medium size, you'd have to be at least medium size, I think.
Right.
But then you don't literally split into goblins, you just split into two smaller versions. Like if you're minotaurs, right? If you're a minotaur, you split into two minotaurs, and I feel like the concept here you could use from different things. But again, two bodies, one mind is how I would look at it. And if you look at it that way, I think it makes a lot of stuff easier. Because there's other things too, like when you split the hit points in half, it's like, does that make you doubly susceptible to a fireball, right? Because you're both of you are getting hit.
Yeah.
Can you mind control only one but not the other?
So I would say, when you talk about, those particular elements, two bodies, one mind. So therefore you would only be able to, you would be able to control either and get both. The fireball, any area effect things would only be able to target you once. And I wasn't even thinking about that until you brought it up. But to me, since you are one character, even though you're split between two, you're just going to share how that damage winds up getting split. But it's a fireball. You're a rogue, so you're probably going to have evasion and pass that saving throw anyway, right?
Well, there is that as well. Honestly, I would probably just be like one hit point pool. Right. And, it doesn't matter. Your hit points are split between you. However, as long as one hit point still exists, you're both still up running around, creating chaos on the battlefield.
That would actually, I think be the easiest way to go about doing this. I like the concept of, sharing the pool of, action choices. So it's like, all right, that one's going to move. Then this one's going to make the attack. Then this one's going to do the bonus action. So I think that could be very fun and open it up to some more interesting scenarios and situations.
Yeah, so I like it. We would allow it. What do you guys think? Would you let this in your game? Is it too ridiculous? We got a place where you can tell us about it.
So while you're down there, don't forget to do all those things that make the YouTubes happy. Like, share, subscribe, even go ahead and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
And quick reminder, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, we drop new videos here on the channel. Come on back, see what's new. But hey, you can't wait till then. And you want another video like this? Check out the top 10 Bard colleges for D&D Homebrew up here.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.